In this video, we're going to be looking at a new release of the New American Standard Bible large print ultra-thin reference Bible in the 1995 text. Now I say this is a new release because they have updated this edition in terms of its materials and the packaging. So you can see here, this is the new one. Comparing it to the old one, the boxes do look different. The old one, I'm sure people have opinions about the color scheme of the older boxes, but in my opinion, I think the color scheme looks more pleasant in the newer ones. As far as the style itself, I actually kind of like some of the style design of the old one, but essentially they do the same job. These are very similar boxes in terms of quality, both two-piece with just a plain white bottom section, but the top does give you information about the Bible. So ISBN number, you can see this one on the old box versus the new. And I'm just showing you the most comparable two Bibles that I could find in the Bibles that I have. So this is actually going to be very similar to this one, but it is going to be the more high quality leather for this time period, the calfskin leather, and this is a genuine leather. So that will be different. Also, this is a black cover. The one they sent me is a brown cover. So you can see on the left there, it says black calfskin leather. On the right, brown genuine leather. And that gives you some, just a look at the side of the boxes there. And then here, you can see they're pretty similar in a lot of ways, although this has been updated to show a little bit of the comparison of the 95 versus the 2020. Whereas when this was made, the 2020 was not out yet. And I have done a comparison video of the NASB 95 versus the 2020 edition if you care to know about the changes that were made and how they compare. All right, so let's take a look at the Bibles themselves. So the older edition, you're going to notice that they're actually really similar versus the new edition. And just looking quickly here at their size, I mean, right there you see they're pretty much the same. Their sizes are very similar. So just to measure the primary one that we're looking at here, it's about 9 3/4 inches tall by 7 inches wide, roughly, and maybe 1 1/4 inches thick. So very similar to the previous edition. When you get to the inside of the Bible, the formatting is going to be the same. And so they really look and feel similar in many ways. And both of these lay very flat. I do think this one is edge-lined, this calfskin edition, and they do have a prime edition of the newer Bibles that are also going to be very nice, high-quality leather, edge-line construction. So you can get something more like this with the newer edition. But I mean, they are very similar. The main difference, though, is actually the paper. The paper in this one looks brighter, I would say, a little bit than the paper in the newer one. But this one has more ghosting, and it's printed in China. This newer one has less ghosting, so you're not going to see words from the other side of the page come through as much. But these are printed in Korea. And I've said this before, but wherever the Lockman Foundation, who produces these Bibles, is getting their paper, they have found a great source of paper because it really is nice. I'm not sure on the GSM. It's somewhere around maybe 30 GSM to 32, something like that. I want to say 30. But they're very similar GSM on both these Bibles. Now, as far as ghosting, you might be able to tell a little bit better if we get to like a poetic section in both of these Bibles. And honestly, on the camera, you may not see much of a difference. It doesn't even look that much different to me here, but I can tell you in certain lighting, this one is an improvement. And just the coloring of the paper, this is not as bright. It's a little easier on the eyes, and I think just diffuses the print on the other side of the page a little bit better. So it really does help with ghosting. And then yet, in both of them, really, the print is actually very stark, very clear. In both of these, you can see that the words come off the page quite well. So really, you know, they have a winner here because this is a format with people who like the NASB 95. This is a format they have liked, and they don't really have any complaints about the actual formatting. So it's that old saying, you know, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And so they've really chosen to go with that, with the NASB 95. And yet with the better paper, you have an improvement there. Let's get to the New Testament. And you're going to see that this is a black letter text for the words of Christ in both of these Bibles. Nothing different there. Again, I would reiterate, as I'm looking at this here, I actually do see more ghosting, like in the center reference section than I see on this side. I don't know if you can see that on the camera very well, but definitely an improvement in paper quality. And I think a lot of people are just happy that they've moved out of China toward Korea. I think for a lot of reasons people are happier with that. In terms of the front and back matter, both of them have concordance and maps, and I think you're going to see really the same maps in both of these Bibles. It looks to me like the paper in the older edition, the map paper, is even more shiny. This is more of a semi-gloss. I think that's an improvement. To me, that looks really nice. That's just a preference thing, though. Depends how shiny you like your maps, but I like a little bit more muted, if you're going to have a gloss, a little bit more muted gloss rather than super glossy. But both are the same maps, look very nice. And the front of the Bibles also are going to have similar things. They've chosen to go in their newer Bibles with a much more plain presentation page and family records pages, as you can see here. They do the job, but they do have a very plain look to them. In the older edition, I think you had a little bit more of a kind of a formal look to it, a little more elaborate, just the way they design that. But honestly, you know, I think the new ones are just fine. They still do the job. I'm sure, again, people are going to have different preferences on that. Again, I do think this is a glossier paper in the front here of the Bible versus in this newer edition. This isn't as glossy. You can see here, if you look closely, how this Bible has been Smyth sewn. So you have a sewn binding there, and you can see the stitches. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but that is there. This one, also being the genuine leather, is just a paste down liner. But it's very nice. The Lockman Bibles, they're not paper paste down. They are more of a vinyl material. And they tend to construct them in a way that feels very sturdy. And yet, this opens up nice and flat. And, you know, you can see here, center of the Bible, you're not going to have a problem with the text going into the gutter. I don't see a problem there. Let's go to the front of the Bible and just kind of see how it lays here toward the very front. So I'm in Genesis, and yeah, it's a new Bible. It might want to close a little bit here, but it's not bad. Will it stay open? Yeah, it pretty much stays open at the beginning of Genesis. So not bad for a new Bible. This hasn't been broken in, and yet it lays quite flat. So really, they have taken what was already good and improved it. Paper quality is better. This was supposed to be like the high-end one at the time that it was made, and you can see here the ribbons on this are just these too thin or narrow ribbons. You know, they're fine. But that's what they used to have. Now, in the genuine leather here, you have a black angle cut ribbon and a brown angle cut ribbon. And they're double-sided, so they have a sheen on both sides of them. They look great. The gilding on this, it did have some spots I noticed, so if you're really particular about that, but I look at these as just they're mass produced, and people aren't necessarily looking that closely at every little detail. It's not like you've paid hundreds for this Bible. So, if it does have some spots on the gild, I don't think it's the end of the world. But just to know that you might have some quality control issues like that are very minor. The spine on this one says Holy Bible. It does tell you that it's the 95 edition. I really like that about the Lockman Bibles. They're very clear on specifying which edition. That's because their updates, when they do them, they're few and far between, but they're major updates. Other translations like the ESV, they'll update, but they'll do more minor updates. They might do them more often as well, but they're minor. So you're not going to see an ESV 2011 on the spine versus an ESV 2016. That is one feature of the NASB that's unique. And then it tells you it's large print ultra-thin NASB Lockman Foundation. It's got perimeter stitching here. And look at the cover. You see it's kind of a pebble green. I don't think that's natural to the cover. They probably stamp the leather, to my knowledge. I think that's how they do it. Still looks great. It is a genuine leather. It's real leather. So, for what you're going to pay for this, it's a mid-grade Bible. It's honestly one of the best mid-grades out there. They're doing a great job producing Bibles right now, the Lockman Foundation. And I know a lot of you like the NASB 95, so great to see they're preserving that legacy. And again, just to reiterate, they've taken something that was already good, and if anything, they've improved it with the paper, the ribbons, the materials of this Bible. Overall, it's a nicer Bible. And this was the high-end Bible when it came out, and yet I would say this one's actually a bit nicer. And you can get their high-end Bible now, the Prime Edition, which is beautiful in goatskin leather. So that's a look at the newest edition of the NASB 95 text, large print, ultra-thin reference Bible. And I know other reviewers have already looked at this, but I wanted to just show things from my perspective, and I would love to hear your perspective. If you have any thoughts or questions about this Bible, let me know in the comments section. I'd love to see that. Thank you so much for taking a look at this with me from a first perspective.